Being scatterbrained, disorganized, not being able to finish things, all these things have been something that I've been plagued with since I was a little kid. I remember feeling very left out because I had friends who were able to just finish stuff or do things, and I had teachers that were frustrated with me because I just could not get through a task. These were things that I was accused of being lazy, or that video games were actually hurting my brain and all this stuff because I wouldn't be able to focus. And it was a lot of redirected frustration from parents and people. But as I got older, nothing changed. I was still the same. I was still, in a lot of ways, more confused, if anything, because I found myself so frustrated. I could not keep a job for longer than a couple years. I couldn't focus on a task for longer than a couple months if it was a long task, and I would just lose interest. Convince myself that the job that I was doing was actually bad for me, and then leave. So many different aspects of this, again, were misdiagnosed. People are like, oh, you're just a lazy gamer. And the stereotype is prevalent. I mean, a lot of us are ashamed of our gaming at times, or at some point in our life we were ashamed of our gaming because gaming as a whole has been demonized. It's been demonized because it has been misunderstood. And I know that for a lot of us, we have found kind of solace in an odd way, and it's really hard to explain. I know that as an adult, as someone in my 30s, explaining during dinner at Thanksgiving what I do, though a lot of my family, my extended family, understands it, there are plenty of others who just don't get it. They ask, what do you do? And I go, I play video games on the internet for a living. And they go, what? You can do that? It's like, yeah, I do it on Twitch, over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee, but also it's more of a vibrant community of individuals who find video games to be something that is healing. Just like, this seems kind of weird. I don't really get it. And that's just it. People don't get it. Video games aren't this thing that people run to escape. Though that is something that happens. A lot of us, I know myself being a newly discovered ADHDer, a lot of us with ADHD find ourselves running to video games because it grants us peace. I was flipping through TikTok, which is the worst for people with ADHD. It's also really crazy coffee I'm trying today. This is from a community member, someone who actually was visiting with their family and coincidentally was close enough that I could meet up with them. And so shout out to you, Ace of Spades. You know Ace, give him a high five, a virtual high five, because Ace is the reason why I'm drinking this crazy coffee. This coffee is from somewhere where he's from, over in North Carolina. This is Black and White Coffee Roasters. They have something really, really nice. So this is the future, spiced orange, inspired by pomanders, fueled by nostalgia. This blend is an ode to the flavors we cherish each holiday season: citrus zest, gingerbread, and brown sugar. Now, this is not a flavored coffee. This is natural occurring flavor characteristics that are found in coffee beans specifically. And so none of this is additional flavor that's added, like a maple coffee that I degenerately drink. No, this is actually real flavors from the coffee bean. I'm brewing this with a very specific brew method in mind. This is the kind of fast and heavy brew method that I learned from my boys over at Rapport Coffee Roasters. Essentially, we're brewing really quick because the flavor is so bright that I don't want it to be over extracted. So I have a heavy dose, 30-gram dose, in a light extraction of 360 grams of water. So that's a 12-to-1. Usually when you're doing coffee, it's 15 up to 17-to-1, 12-to-1. The flavor is going to be real punchy. I'm trying to get this done in 2 minutes and 30, 2 minutes and 45 seconds at max. 2:30 is really where I want it to be. And again, this is really fast ground, kind of light, coarser here on the Ode Gen 2. If you're using a twist grinder or my hand grinder, this is going to be like 17 or 18 clicks. Yeah, 237, exactly on the nose. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to pull it, and we're going to let this sit for a little bit. Before we do that, let's roll. Roll for initiative. We got 4. We're going with smoke. Not mad about that. Pour some off and continue down. So I was explaining to some people during Thanksgiving what I do, and it's always a little bit weird because I'm sitting there around the table with family members. We got teachers, we have published authors in the education space in my family. No business owners, actually, if I think about it, but just different people, CEOs in some ways or whatever, and retired folk. And here I am talking about what I do, and all of the little cousins are like, oh, that's cool, and all of the adults are like, whatever. And in that moment, self-consciousness kind of overwhelms me, not because there's anything wrong with not understanding, but a little bit of doubt, like, oh, what am I doing? Is this really just silly? And then I'm encouraged by the community, but also I think about how important gaming has become for me. Not just because this whole thing that I do is like fun to do and I like it, but because, well, I have found what is actually, for lack of a better term, medicating me. So I've recently, over the past few months, let me take it back. I was officially diagnosed with ADHD a few months ago. There are routes I can go down to actually address some of the issues that I run into with ADHD, such as something that ADHDers experience is if you talk about something, like I'll have this crazy idea like I did for the Indiana Jones thing, and I mistakenly told a few people about it, and now it's not happening because I'm like, oh, well, I don't really want to do it anymore because it was kind of cool to talk about and think about, but now it's just too much work to do. And I want to do it, but I'm not going to do it. But also, I'm so unbelievably frustrated with the video game industry. So let me just sidebar it real quick. Let me take a sip of coffee, get spracked out, and let's talk about this. Too hot, can't taste a darn thing. Okay, so let's talk about it real quick. The game Indiana Jones and the Lost Circle of Death is coming out officially on the 9th. Do you know what the 9th is? It's a Monday. What do you do on Monday historically? You go to work, or you request time off, but you go to work. It's going to be included in in your Game Pass subscription if you have Game Pass. It's not free, it's included in the purchase, okay? So you have that game there. The base game, if you want the deluxe edition, you can spend $35. That deluxe edition grants you access to DLC, some cosmetics, but on top of that, which is so beautiful, it gets you early access. Ooh, early access. So great. You know what's great about early access is you feel like you're a part of an exclusive club playing a game early. You know when that game's early access starts? 4 p.m. on Friday, Pacific Standard Time. What happens at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for most of the United States? It's about the time people get off of work or have started to get off of work sequentially over the whole United States. You pay $35 extra. Oh, but mind you, and you don't own the game. If you want to own the game and actually play it on the freaking real day, you have to spend $100. $100 to play the game on a Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, which is, by any standard, the real time a game comes out, because what do you do on Saturday and Sunday? You have a weekend. And for people who work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that weekend is something that you experience. I'm so livid by this nonsense. I was so frustrated when I found out that the game I wanted to stream and use as kind of a catalyst to what I want to do on Twitch was doing this absolute disgusting asinine-like behavior. It's just so aggravating to be like, hey, you want to play this game? Cool. Well, we'll release it on Monday, but if you spend a little bit extra money, you can play it on the weekend like any other normal person. You know what? Microsoft and your stuff, you guys are lame, dude. You guys are so lame. It's so corny. It's just so corny. It's so corny, dude. And I know that I usually stay positive and I don't come after companies or whatever, but that is so corny and gross, and it's just not even disguising it. It's not even disguising it. It's like, hey, guess what? We know what we're doing. You want to play this game? Well, pay a little extra money. You can play it over the weekend. It's just so frustrating for me because this kind of thing that happens in this right now, it's just, it makes me really, really frustrated. So that game is not going to be played. I also talked about what I wanted to do and whatever. So it's just not being played. But getting back to what I was talking about, sorry about that little tangent. And just my gears are so ground because of this. It's just so obnoxious. That is so wild. It was literally orange. It's like an orange spice graham cracker. I literally am like eating a graham cracker, gingerbread man type cookie that has orange zest in it. That is so bizarre. That's delicious. Anyway, I was talking about the video game stuff with the family, and there were a couple people who understood because they're part of media and content creation industry, or at least understand the content creation landscape. But when talking about it to them, I realized that they just don't get it. Video games as a whole, as I was diagnosed with ADHD, I realized were what I used to calm my mind. It wasn't that I used video games to escape, because, again, I don't use video games to escape. I don't see a bad situation and think to myself, oh, I need a way out of this. I want to go hide somewhere. I don't do that. I'm not that type of person. I don't process in retreat. I process in, forward motion. I'm a publicly processing type of person. I am a outwardly processing, figure it out as I move along type of person. While I am very analytical in a lot of ways, usually it's retrospectively analytical as I move forward, try new things, fail, move on, learn from that mistake, and go on like that. And with ADHD, if I get stuck in analysis paralysis, nothing will ever get done, because I can come up with 150 ideas to do a thing, but nothing's going to happen. I'm better off moving forward, doing something, and then realizing, okay, let's change it a little bit. Now, in this landscape of social media and establishing expectations, it can get itself kind of hairy and make itself really challenging to engage, but it seems like I'm engaging with an audience that thinks the same as I do, which is scatterbrained. I over-caffeinate because over-caffeinating helps me lock it in. And some would say, well, you can just take some of the ADHD medication. It's like over-caffeinating, except it's on steroids. And I think to myself, I'd rather, in a sort of odd kind of way, naturally over-caffeinate by drinking cups of coffee, letting that hit the brain, and then we can talk about video games. You know what I mean? But gaming for someone with ADHD has been crazy, and something that has really helped with that process was the Steam Deck. Now, I don't know why the Steam Deck has become quickly this grail piece for myself as well as some of us ADHDers, but man, is it so special. And let me tell you why something like the Steam Deck, it can easily be extrapolated to something like the Asus ROG Ally X, which I think is a phenomenal piece of machinery. I just don't need to... Let me phrase that. The games that I want to play on the go usually aren't games that need the power of the Asus ROG Ally X. Therefore, I can simplify my gaming experience by using the far more streamlined and user-friendly gaming solution on the go, Steam Deck, and move into that space that way. Really on the go, I'm looking for something that is as close to the Nintendo Switch as possible. The Nintendo Switch being the gold standard of hybrid style gaming or portable gaming. The Steam Deck is the next best. At home, I have my PC, which is pushing frames, dude. It is blowing games out of the water. And recently, thanks to Titan Army, they are sending me some cool monitors, two 32-inch monitors. One is curved, one is not, because I want to see which one is going to be a better experience, and I can share that experience with you guys, as well as the fact that they're not 4K. I intentionally want to get away from 4K. I think that 4K gaming on a PC, for me, on a 43-inch TV that is OLED and 120 hertz is great and all, but I would much rather push a 1440p image through that. Stable, more stable also. Those two monitors, have 240 hertz refresh rates, which is going to be kind of fun. But gaming on the go for me has been a wonderful thing, because when I'm feeling this weird, I don't know how to explain it, but this brain fog, this mind jail, I guess is the best way to put it, this weird experience that only people with ADHD would truly understand, where everything in you wants to do a thing, but everything outside of you can't get it to happen. It is the wildest experience. Imagine you're sitting there and all you want to do is eat a burrito, because that burrito is delicious. But as you go to sit there and look at the burrito, you think, I just can't use my hands. So what's the logical thing you would do? Well, you would slam your face into the burrito and eat it. But then you think to yourself, I don't want to get my face dirty. And all you want is to eat that burrito, but you're just like, I just don't want to use my hands. I really don't want to use my hands. I'm not going to get my face dirty. And so you're sitting there staring at it being like, that burrito looks so good. Oh my gosh. I just don't want to use my hands. And that's what it feels like. You're like, oh, I want that thing so bad, but I just can't do it. But something that the Steam Deck does for me is it breaks the cycle. Because let's say I'm sitting here and I can't get the job done in this natural environment. Well, something that I am able to gain a lot of dopamine from is new experiences, novel experiences. Half the reason why I do stuff like completely and utterly change the appearance of this place. I do crazy things like completely change the subject matter and declare things like, oh, I'm going to only do this, is because it's a novel experience. That novel experience grants a significant amount of dopamine, and that dopamine drives me. Where a normal person would get some sort of steady drip of dopamine, or they would complete a task and it would motivate them. That doesn't really work for me or people like me. And so the Steam Deck allows me to do one thing that is spectacular. Change my location. The flexibility in location is such a hack, is such a crazy thing for me. Part of the reason why I've always worked with laptops, and my working PC is still going to be my MacBook Pro, is because being able to edit on my couch, on my table, in a coffee shop, out in my backyard, is the thing that triggers in my mind, oh, we're good. And I can lock it in for those, sometimes it's only 15, 20 minutes. Other times it's like 3 hours. I sit at a coffee shop. Someone comes up and goes, hey, how's it going? It derails me for 25 minutes. And I get back down and I'm locked and loaded, dude. And dude, if I may, the Steam Deck for me has done that. Where gaming became stale in a lot of ways on console, because I was stuck in a location, and gaming would otherwise become stale for me on PC if that was my only way to interact with games. The Steam Deck allows me to open up that experience and play games like Sea of Stars, which I'm just getting through so slowly, and other games that work okay, but I'm usually not playing big games on there. Like, I'm not going to really try to push Resident Evil 4 on my Steam Deck. I'll just play it on my PC. And Black Myth Wukong, I didn't even try because I'm playing it in I'm having such an incredible experience, which, by the way, guys, almost done with that game. It is absolutely my game of the year. I can't even explain to you how good that game is. In multiple times live on stream, which you should come join us over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. Also, quick question. Would you guys like 6:30 p.m. Pacific time or 5 a.m. Pacific time? Which time do you guys like the most? Because there's a little bit of a debate in my brain which time is going to be the best for me, and I would like to know who's going to show up either way. So please let me know in the comments below. But when I was playing that game, there have been at least half a dozen times where I'm playing, and I pause because I am just overwhelmed with how good it is. There was a specific boss that did this to me a couple days ago, which wasn't absurdly challenging. In some ways, I think it took me a few attempts, but by no stretch was it the most challenging boss I've faced. But this boss was so unreal. The art design, the arena design, the mechanics of the boss, everything about the boss blew my mind. It was the Yin Yang boss. Forgot the name of him. I literally I stopped playing, and I ranted for like 3 minutes about how this game is just gorgeous. Those kind of experiences for me are so motivating and exciting, and the ones that I share with other people in the community. And when I sit at dinner with other people who don't get it, I almost feel myself going, I just don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain how a hobby can be so much more involved than something as simple as, oh, I like to make charcuterie boards in my off time, right? I like to paint. This is so community driven. It is so like powerful. And I know other hobbies have communities. I've been a part of some very, very heavy-handed communities, right? I've been in the CrossFit world. Communities are extremely involved. I still would consider myself a part of that community. They're great. They're very involved in our lives, in people's lives. There's something so special about the video game community. I think it's the one other community other than something like a fitness-based community that has that thing. The push, the drive, the special feeling you get from being with other people, because it is a community that has people show up with things, real actual feelings and things, dude. And that's the thing that is so hard to articulate to people who are outside of it. And as I have, had a lot of time to think about this next year with, because that's something I do during the Thanksgiving time, as well, specifically November. And this is the first video posted in the new year for me. December is always, so Thanksgiving is New Year's Eve. Black Friday is New Year's Day and that weekend. So like Thanksgiving through Sunday, this Monday is always going to be the first day of the new, fresh thing for me. The biggest, most important thing to me, I've realized, is investing as much as I can in getting a very involved and active community, however that looks. I've mentioned it before as like a joke, but I really mean it. At some point, hopefully sooner than later, I want to get to a point where we can have some sort of massive event. I don't know what that would be. I have no clue what that would look like, but I want that. Because there are so many of us who are in our mid-30s, parents, that have held on to this hobby, some of us not telling others, but a lot of us going like, no, this is something special. And at Thanksgiving, I realized how unbelievably special it was. Yes, the teenagers around the table were like, oh, it's cool, dude. And I was like, okay, cool. And the adults were like, okay, dude, whatever. Here's JD with his video games. But then I thought about it and I go, Discord, dude. I check the Discord and the conversations being had. I meet up with Ace and he gives me his bag of coffee. And this would have never happened if it wasn't for a couple videos about the Steam Deck. And I'm good friends with my now best friend who lives in Utah, and I would have never met him if it wasn't for playing video games. Like, all of these things are so unbelievable. They're so unbelievable. And I think we have something special here. And so for the video gamers out there, for the people who are like, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of whatever, fine. But for those of you who are like, there's something special and I can't articulate it, I can't either. It's just so great. There's something great. I hope that this encourages you in some way. Please join me over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee, where I will go live. Right now it's the evening times. I don't love evenings. I much rather work in the morning time, but right now it's evening times. So come join us over there. New game will happen tonight, so I'll announce it on stream. Black Myth is over. We finished the most of what I wanted to finish on stream, and so we're going to move into the next game here tonight. So please join me. And yeah. Also, there is an audio version of this. This is a podcast, if you didn't know. There's an audio version of this, and you can go to Apple Music and look up Cups with JD Coffee, and please rate it and leave a little comment or something, a review. Let's try to get this trending somehow. I don't know how. Okay, cool. Sweet. You guys are awesome. Play more. Be kind. See ya.